Shit. Son of a bitch. Things were certainly not supposed to work out this way. I'm waking up for what must be the third time tonight, and the rats are biting my feet and ankles again. How many of those scumsuckers have I already killed tonight? How many are left to kill? I need to swing my legs up and hook them over my hands again. Did I mention that my hands are tied to the ceiling and my feet are barely able to reach the floor? Yes, I should go back and explain to you why I'm in such a dire situation. I'm Sergeant Major Benny Blaine, known to all my friends and my enemies that are still living as BB, Bonsai Ben, a proud member of Uncle Sam's Misguided Children, USMC, and a sniper currently based in Iraq. I'm around 28 years old, 5 feet 10 inches tall, weigh 205 pounds, and have 9% body fat. In short, I'm a lean, mean, fighting machine. My father was full-blooded Cherokee and my mama was Brazilian, so I have a dark and mysterious look that drives women wild. This is my 5th tour of duty and I have an impressive number of one-shot kills. But those numbers are classified. If I told you, I would have to kill you. This tour of duty has been so very different than the rest because Jack, my longtime spotter, is gone. The scumsucker up and retired after our last tour of duty, so I had to break in a new and green spotter. I tell you what, I don't know what the hell has gotten into the Marines, but they're not the same as when I joined 10 years ago. They've changed and become all politically correct. I couldn't believe it when they gave me a woman for my spotter last time I was stateside. Shit. And not just any woman, but the daughter of General Donaldson. At first, I resigned over it, but after a couple of months of being bored, some serious begging from my old commanding officer, and a big bump in rank, I came back. Besides, where else can you get paid to go hunting for the most dangerous animal in the world? They made me agree to at least try this woman out as my new spotter, which really sucked. I figured she had used her daddy's name and pulled some strings to get this assignment, but I sure as hell wasn't going to let it screw up my chances at setting a new kill record. So before they were going to ship us out, I requested 2 full months of training so we could learn to work as a team. However, my real plan was to make it so miserable and nasty for her that she would crawl back to daddy and request a discharge. She's just a little princess. Shit, she's daddy's little princess. I'm getting sleepy again, and the rats aren't bothering me right now. Maybe I can sleep and have dreams of home. Leadville, Colorado. Oh yeah, I was going to tell you how I got into trouble with the rats. I guess I should start at the beginning. I re-upped at the end of June and have been working hard all of July and August to make sure I'm in tip-top condition. I also spent time at home. My home is a nice little cabin close to Leadville, Colorado. It's not fancy, but I keep it clean, and it's a great place to unwind after work. Of course, I only get to come here once every 15 months, between deployments. There's enough land that I can go out and shoot whenever I feel like it. Perhaps that's how I got so good at my job. As nice as this was, I started to go a little stir-crazy by the end of August, so on a whim, I decided to enter the Leadville Trail 100. I know. What a crazy thing to do. I never said I was sane. Besides, lately, I'd had sort of an antsy feeling around my place. The same feeling I get when someone or something, like a puma, is watching me. I thought maybe the run would be a great way to cap off the end of my civilian career, because after I got rid of daddy's little bitch, I didn't plan on ever leaving my Marine family again. Once a Marine, always a Marine. 0330, August 25, 2007 found milling around the start area with about 450 other crazy people. I didn't think there were this many crazies in the world that would even attempt something like this, especially since more than half of them won't finish. It looked like a freak show at the circus. It never ceases to amaze me what some people will wear and the colors they'll combine. It reminds me of the time in basic training, hereafter referred to as BT, when I got drunk and puked all over my ex-girlfriend's car. Did I mention that I've never run 100 miles at a time in my whole life? I'd been training by running around the Leadville area. I ran 25 to 40 miles a day. At first, I didn't carry anything, but later, I carried my ACU Alice pack loaded down with about 40 kilograms. I'd become very comfortable with running. One thing I never did get comfortable with, though, was running in those garish, skimpy little nylon shorts, or even worse, the nasty-looking tights. Not many things shouted fag to me more than seeing a guy wearing either of those. I do have to say, though, there were some damn fine-looking women there this early in the morning. I didn't think women woke up this early. My ex-girlfriend never did. I sure didn't have any problem with seeing them in skimpy shorts or tights, and at least most of them weren't wearing any nasty-smelling perfume. I'm not that old, but I've figured out a couple things about women. First, they never dress to impress, or even get a man. Otherwise, they would walk around in negligees or bikinis all the time, because let's be truthful, that's what a man wants to see. Second, it's the same for their perfume. They wear it to impress other women. If a woman ever wanted to attract me with perfume, it would work much better if she smelt like bacon or hops number 9. My footwear was the one strange thing that I did wear. Normally, you would expect a Marine to wear combat boots. I do things differently. I either run barefoot or in Vibram 5, fingers 1. How did a gung-ho Marine end up running barefoot? That's a totally different story for a totally different time, but I'll tell you part of it now. A few years back, Jack and I were loaned out to a 3-letter branch of the federal government to help on narcotic interdiction in the Barrancas del Cabre area of Sierra Madre region of northern Mexico. Some loco gringo that goes by the name of Caballo Blanco lived down there and made a big stink about the Mexican narcotic runners trying to wipe out some indigenous natives named the Tarahumara. Caballo Blanco's real name is Micah True, and he used to live in Nederland, Colorado. He did some work for our federal government and had some connections. The whole thing was huge cluster shit from the start. The Mexican federals just dropped us and then left us without any support. Not only that, they dropped us in the wrong place. It took a couple of days for Caballo Blanco to find us, and when he did, I was sure that this clown was crazy. He came running up to us wearing some sort of stupid sandals on his feet, made out of old tires, and was followed by a couple of the Tarahumara Indians. They were all really happy to see us, and we had cordial greetings all around. We found out we needed to run for a few hours to get to where our forward base of operations, hereafter referred to as FBO, was. Damn, they sure run funny. It's not the normal nice, long strides like I take. It's a short, but very fast, gait. 5 hours later, we dragged our butts into the FBO. I was tired, but Caballo Blanco and the Indians don't even seem to be winded. By the end of our mission, I had learned the running secret of the Tarahumara. They run like they are barefoot because essentially they are. The sandals or hurrake they wear don't offer any support for the foot. All they do is keep them from getting cut on the sharp stones. I've also learned some other things about running without shoes. When you run barefoot, you run differently than when you're in shoes. You have to run on the balls of your feet, not the heels, causing 3 things to happen. First, you run with your knees slightly bent. Because your knees are bent, your legs end up absorbing the shock of running, not your shoes. Second, because the legs are your shock absorbers, your running becomes very smooth with short steps and at a much higher cadence, 80 to 110 steps per minute, transmitting very little jarring motion up your body. Finally, because the running cadence is higher and the jarring is less, you don't get as tired and can run further. Getting off this rabbit trail and back to Leadville, I would just like to say that I guess I am just old school. Give me my Vibram 5 fingers, MCCUU 2 pants, and Devil Dog t-shirt any day. The freak show continued as start time approached, and it seemed like everyone was going through some sort of weird gyrations they tried to call stretching. It looked to me like most of them just had ants in their pants. Don't get me wrong, I do believe in stretching, but I believe in functional stretching, such as a dog or a cat does. Watch an animal next time it gets up to move. What's the first thing it does? It stretches to prepare the muscles and the joints for any movement to come. I do exactly the same whenever possible. I finished stretching and found myself a good starting position. I didn't really think I had any chance to win the damned race, but I sure don't want to be stuck in the back of the pack at the start. I got tired of watching the freaks, so I lifted my gaze to the magnificent mountains. When I looked back down, I had to rub my eyes, thinking they were playing tricks on me, because I sure couldn't believe what I was seeing. Walking towards me was this drop-dead gorgeous blonde. She was about 5 feet 8 inches and looked like the quintessential girl next door crossed with the buff Linda Hamilton from Terminator 2. No, I take that back. She was more buff than Linda Hamilton was. She was smiling a $1 million smile, and wearing the exact same uniform that I was, MCCU pants, red Devil Dog t-shirt, Vibram 5-finger shoes, in pink, no less. Shit, she even has a USMC Caber 3 knife on a web belt and a camo camelback. I was sure I was dreaming, because her violet eyes were trained on me. She walked right up to me, stopping about 1.5 feet from my face and yelled, "Semper Fi Marine." My voice caught in my throat, but I managed to get out an "Ora!" She looked around at the circus and shook her head. It's a shame our nice run will be spoiled by these frickin' freaks. I never did care much for all the crap they said you have to buy just to go for a little run. This is what I always wear. By the way, my name is Yintz. She held out her hand. My name's Ben, I said as I took the hand offered. Now, if you have never shaken hands with a recon Marine, let me warn you about it. You aren't going to get some pansy little squeeze. You can expect that they will put some serious hurt into the shake, so you had better be ready for it. I knew this, but since she was a woman I didn't bear down. She squeezed the hell out of my hand as she looked me in the eyes and said, "What sort of half handshake was that? I thought you were a Marine, but Maybe you're just another poser. Son of a bitch. The starting gun sounded, and we were nowhere close to the starting line. She took off running like her but was on fire and shouted over her shoulder, "If you're a real Marine and not a poser, you should be able to catch me." I have to say, Yince sure could run, and the view I had from the back was as good as the view from the front. This woman was crazy. She set a blistering pace, and by the time we reached the Turquoise Lake Road junction, we'd already passed over half the field. I think every one of them was upset at us. Yince didn't politely ask the other runners to get out of our way. She yelled, "Get the hell out of my way," sometimes even adding a hole to the end of her command. I would have laughed if I wasn't doing my damnedest to stay up with her. After the junction, we finally hit the first real trail part of this trail run, and it became more of a challenge to pass the other runners. Because it was still a little dark, most of them had slowed up some, but not Yince. She was still running Mach 1 with her hair on fire, and was even more vocal about the runners in our way. One old fool wouldn't move, and sure enough, she pushed him into the lake. Damn, was he mad. I was sure they would throw us both out of the race. That is, if they could catch us. We caught the lead group about 2 miles from the May Queen campground on the west end of Turquoise Lake, and she finally slowed up at the back of the lead pack. As we came the campground onto the pavement, she dropped back beside me and handed me 2 packets of GU energy gel and a food bar. "We aren't stopping, so eat this shit, take a drink, and get ready. When the leaders slow up, we are going to sprint past them." Sure enough, the whole lead pack slowed up to get some drinks, and Yince looked over at me and said, "Run your butt off, you devil dog." As we blew by the aid table, she yelled, "What a bunch of losers." It scared the crap out of most of them. Several even dropped their drinks and started chasing us. Over 13.5 miles done, and we were leading the race. Now on a road again, we ran side by side, and I would occasionally sneak a sideways glance at her, wondering what sort of psycho bitch I was running with. She caught me looking once and ordered, "Hey jarhead, keep your eyes on the road." She looked back over her shoulder and laughed at the runners behind us trying to keep up. "My strategy worked," she said. "I figured that I could suck the leaders into chasing us if we blew by them at the aid station before they were hydrated. They were hurting now, starting to fall further back. Then, here, eat another energy bar and drink some more water. Then get ready to pick up the pace again. I want to see if we can drop these losers before we hit FS number 105. From there, it's 3.5 miles to the top of Sugarloaf Pass. Then it will be almost all downhill into the outward bound aid station." How fast can you run downhill? When Yince asked me, "How fast can you run downhill?" she was really asking me how fast I can move my feet. When you run like a Tarahumara, foot speed equals ground speed. We dropped the rest of the pack and blew into the fish hatchery or outward bound aid station in just under 3.5 hours. Shit, that was 23.5 miles at almost marathon pace. It's a good thing that they have officials all along the route, because when we first came in, some shitheads started to come over and give us shit about cheating. Yince looked at him and told him, "Go screw yourself. We didn't cheat. You can check with your observers, shitwad." He turned all red in the face and left to do just that. We reloaded our camelbacks and were gone, so I never heard what he found out. Leaving the outward bound aid stations, we were running on pavement again. Shit, why do they even call this a trail run when we run so much on the road? But, even on the road, the scenery in the Leadville area is some of the most beautiful in Colorado, and it didn't hurt that I had a beautiful companion running with me. Then again, that's not quite the right term. Perhaps it would be better if I said she was egging me on. The next aid station at Half Moon Campground was just a short 7 miles from the outward bound aid station. So again, we didn't even stop. We were eating and drinking on the run, and weren't even tired. I was shocked to see a huge crowd cheering as they saw us come into sight. This got Yince really pumped, and she started singing. Up in the middle of the drizzle and the rain. I packed my chute and I ran to the plane. Mission top secret, there's a mission unknown. We don't know if we're ever coming home. Stand up, buckled up, shuffled to the door. Jumped right out and shout Marine Corps. If my chute don't open wide, I've got another one by my side. If that chute don't open round, I'll be the first one on the ground. Ora. Well, I'll be a son of a bitch. This psycho chick might be a Marine. When she was done, I added the second verse. Tell my mama not to cry. In the Marine Corps you will do or die. Pin my wings upon my chest. Tell my girl I've done my best. Place a caber in my hand. I'll fight my way to the promised land. Ora. Lean and mean. U.S. Marine. Ora. As we passed the aid station, the crowd joined in. Lean and mean. U.S. Marine. Ora. I still wasn't totally sure that she was a Marine, and I had gotten into the whole cadence singing. So I started off with, through the desert and across the plains, and stopped. Yince sang, steaming jungles and tropic rains. Then we both sang, no mortal foe can stop me now. This is gonna be my solemn vow. I have honor and I have pride. Winning serves me as my guide. This course shocks our enemies, brings them crashing to their knees. Basic training is plenty rough. To make it through you must be tough. Hey, squad leader, don't be blue. They're gonna make you a soldier too. The miles were melting away and the cadence was keeping our minds off any pain or fatigue. We rolled into the Twin Lakes Firehouse at mile 39.5 to another huge cheering crowd. I guess they had found out from the last aid station at Half Moon, because when they saw us they started chanting, lean and mean, U.S. Marine, Ora, Ora. We loaded up the camelbacks and slammed down 2 cups of nasty black coffee. Then Yince handed me 2 huge squares of a homemade energy bar I had never seen and said, eat this. I took the first bite and the flavors of honey, oats, maple, and almonds exploded in my mouth. Hey, this is the best damn energy bar I have ever had. I wolfed the rest of it down. Thanks, she said. I made it myself. It's called Hudson Bay Bread. It has enough energy and nutrients in it that you could live on it for weeks. I'm glad you like it, because this and water is all we will have for the rest of the run. It was time to go. I did my normal stretching as I stood up and felt pretty good. Yince smiled and said, okay, Leatherneck Recon, we are about halfway there and we are on a record pace. Don't get lazy on me now. As we started running I sang out and Yince joined right in. Mad Dog. Mad Dog. Oh yeah. Mad Dog. Mad Dog. That's a me. Oh yeah. My grandmama was 102. She used to PT like me and you. My grandmama was 106. She did PT just for kicks. My grandmama was 107. Well, the poor girl died and went to heaven. My grandmama was 108. She went side straddle hopping through the pearly gates. My grandmama was 109. She had St. Peter doubling time. The crowd went wild and started barking at us like a bunch of dogs. We hit the dirt road just outside of the ghost town of Winfield, the halfway point of the race. I'd heard that this road was busy, but we were both shocked to see a whole patrol of Marines waiting of us there. As we passed, they fell in right behind us singing cadence for us. Apparently, the Denver TV stations had reported that there were a couple of crazy Marines setting a record pace on one of the hardest trail races in the world, and one of them was a woman. I found out we were over an hour ahead. Unless we blew up, we pretty much had it won. The brass, never wanting to miss a good photo op for the Corps, did a parachute airdrop of my old recon patrol and secured permission for them to run behind us if they didn't render any aid. I tell you, it was impressive, Yince and I running side by side with a full patrol of Marines in battle gear running behind us. The Colorado State Patrol was even leading the way in escort with lights and sirens. You would have thought it was a parade for heroes. In actuality, it was a parade for heroes back from Iraq, and it was better than any frickin' bogus ticker tape parade in New York City. We rolled into the halfway aid station, and I'll be damned if a USMC band didn't start playing the Marine hymn. Naturally, the patrol and the crowd started singing along. The news crews wanted to get stories and interviews and were being obnoxious. We still needed to resupply and move our butts. The race wasn't over, just halfway done. Finally, some of my buddies from the patrol politely moved the press away from us. It was a good thing, because I think Yince was about ready to open her mouth and let them have it, and I was pretty damn tired of it too. I was bent over finishing filling my camelback when someone tapped me on the shoulder. This was just too much for me to take. I spun around and opened my mouth to lay into the scumsucker bothering me. General Donaldson. Sir. I snapped to attention and threw my best salute, wondering what the hell the general in charge of the whole USMC was doing there. Sergeant Major Blaine. He returned my salute. The entire Corps would like to thank you today. You have done a great service for the Corps. We are receiving more good press from this race than anything else we have done this year. Keep up the good work, Sergeant Major Blaine. And one final thing. Run your devil dog shit off and win this race for the Corps. And the whole crowd shouted, lean and mean, U.S. Marine. Ora! Ora! It was all downhill from there. As they say, we won the race, running across the finish line together holding a Marine flag between us and setting a new record time of 17 hours 1 minute and 39 seconds, smashing the old record for men by over an hour and the women's record by over 3 hours. When we hit Leadville, the whole town had been waiting with all the Corps dignitaries and all the major news channels. Somewhere in the process of all the accolades and the interviews, I lost track of Yince. The most common question was what motivated me to run as hard as I did. I had only one answer to that question. It was Yince. Later I would learn that she said the same thing about me. Finally, all the excitement wore off and I was ready to head back to my cabin. But before I did, I wanted to find Yince and thank her for making the last 18 hours of my life so memorable. I looked everywhere, but she was gone. One the closest to barefoot running you can get. Looks like a very thin, soled sock with 5 toes. 2. The Marine Corps Combat Utility Uniform, or MCCUU, is intended for wear in the field or for working parties, but has become the typical working uniform for all deployed and most garrison Marines and sailors. It is rendered in Marpat digital camouflage that breaks up the wearer's shape, and also serves to distinguish Marine uniforms from those of other services. There are 2 approved varieties of Marpat: woodland or winter, green, brown, black, and desert or summer, tan, brown, gray. To further distinguish the uniform, upon close examination, the eagle, globe, and anchor can be found within the pattern. 3. The caber is a 12-inch fighting and utility Bowie knife used by the United States Marine Corps and United States Navy. Its moderate carbon and low chromium steel mixture allows the blade to hold an edge very well. In combat, the knife has seen service opening cans, digging trenches, cutting wood and roots, and hand-to-hand combat. Kadaba, Pakistan, Night 3. I never thought I would say that it feels good being tied up to the ceiling, but this beats the hell out of the shit the camel jockeys did to me today. First, they tied me to a chair, brought in an interpreter, and started asking me questions. I wouldn't even talk to the prick other than to say his mother was a 304 and his father was a shit. They beat the shit out of me for saying that. After that, they would ask me a question, and when I wouldn't answer, they beat me. That went on all day. I think they wore out 3 guys beating on me. I'm pretty bruised up, but I don't think they broke any of my bones. At least, not yet. The pricks can beat me to death before I'll tell them anything. They stopped about an hour ago, gave me some shitty-tasting food and some water, and now I'm back, tied up to the ceiling. Once it gets dark, I'll immerse myself in memories until I manage to sleep. With luck, I'll dream of being home, and the rats won't interrupt the dreams. Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, Saturday arrival. My life as a civil was over, and I was headed back into the loving arms of Uncle Sam. I said goodbye to my friends from Leadville, caught a puddle jumper to DIA, Denver International Airport, and was soon flying coach to MCBH, Marine Corps Base Hawaii, on the lovely island of Oahu. I know what you're thinking. It's nasty flying coach, but it's better than flying space available on AC-130 Hercules. Since winning the Leadville Trail Run, I'd become some sort of celebrity in the Corps. Shit, not only in the Corps. I was amazed at the number of people who accosted me at DIA for an autograph. Not only that, a certain female flight attendant made it known that she would be willing to join the Mile High Club with me. I wasn't interested in that 304. Women, they just can't keep their hands off a man in uniform, and in my opinion, there isn't a more beautiful one than the blue dress uniform. Normally, I would have traveled in something less formal, but because I was a celebrity, the brass wanted me looking my best. A number of years back, the sniper school was moved to MCBH, and they incorporated cross-training with snipers in other branches of the service to keep the Marines on their toes. The brass has always pushed me to come here and train the newer snipers, and I've always resisted, telling them that I have more important things to do than nursemaid a bunch of baby snipers. Well, that's not quite true. Actually, I'm a terrible teacher and I know it. I'm just too hard-headed and impatient to put up with students. I don't know what you know about sniper school, but it's only about 20% shooting. The rest is about tactics and concealment and how to endure all the incredible shit that occurs when you're waiting for the kill. There are some targets for which you end up waiting in your ghillie suit for a week to get a shot. It's hot and sweaty, and you can't move. If need be, you even shit and piss right in your suit. People might wonder what sort of person in his right mind would ever take a job like this. Well, I'm not in my right mind, and all the crap that I have to go through for the kill is worth it for the couple of seconds it takes to make the shot. I'm one messed up prick. Those people should just be thankful that I work for our side. Interestingly, I couldn't get much information on Sergeant Donaldson, or DLP, Daddy's Little Princess, as I'd started calling her. I knew only that she graduated top of her class at the National Guard Sniper School at Camp Robinson in Central Arizona. But after all, that was the National Guard, not even the real military. So how hard could that school be? She'd had 1 deployment to Iraq and had a verified 4 kills. Shit, I think I had that many in the first week on my first deployment. Then she transferred to the Marines and recently was promoted to sergeant from corporal. I was sure that her daddy had something to do with that promotion. It didn't matter. The MCBH school was between classes, so we had it all to ourselves, and I figured I would have DLP crawling back to daddy in about a week. Then, I could get back to finding a real spotter and then, of course, back to Iraq. After an uneventful flight, we touched down at Oahu Airport. A lance corporal was waiting for me as I exited the plane, and we boarded a waiting chopper to fly us to the base. It's sort of nice being a celebrity. Having been at MCBH before, I went right to the office of the base commanding officer, BCO, to check in, while the lance corporal dropped my gear in my barracks. After a short wait, I was called in. After the proper attention and salute, I was shaking hands with Brigadier General Thompson. "Sir, it's good to see you again and to be back in the Corps," I said. "Sergeant Major Blaine, we're so glad to have you back. I thought that we'd lost you when you resigned, and that would have been a great loss to the Corps. I also wanted to congratulate you on the outstanding win at the Leadville Trail 100. Enlistment in the Corps is up over 50% since that remarkable event. Thank you, sir, but I really couldn't have done it without the help from the other Marine, Jens. To be truthful, sir, I feel extremely bad about it because I didn't even get to know her full name or thank her." "Yes, Ben, we know, and there's a reason for that." He pressed the intercom button on his desk, but didn't say anything. The door opened, and in walked Sergeant Jennifer Donaldson. She snapped a perfect salute to Brigadier General Thompson and then turned to me. Standing in front of me in her dress blues Marine uniform was not Sergeant Jennifer Donaldson or DLP, but Jens, who had run the Leadville race with me. My jaw must have hit the floor. I couldn't think of anything to say. Brigadier General Thompson saved the situation when he said, "Come on, you two. Stop staring at each other and sit down. We need to talk." We both sat, and Brigadier General Thompson looked at me. "Bonsai, I've known you for a very long time. In fact, for the entirety of your 10 years of service to the Corps. And I know that you resigned, rather than take Jens as your new spotter, and I also think I know you well enough to know that you came here planning on getting her to quit the sniper program. Let's see. I bet you were thinking if you made it hard enough, or bad enough, or nasty enough on her, she would quit and run back to her daddy. Am I right?" I nodded my head, and he continued. "And I bet that you're feeling double-crossed right now, and that you're starting to get pissed off. Am I right?" Damn, he could read me. He knew it, and I knew it. I also knew that if I answered, I'd be in trouble. I clamped my mouth shut. "Before you go opening your mouth and saying something that you'll regret, or something that might get you court-martialed, you need to listen to me. This is an exceptional young lady, and perhaps one of the best damned Marines I've ever met. She didn't get here riding the general's coattails. Everything that she has done on her own, other than getting assigned as your spotter. She did that because she wanted to work with the best so that she and you could become even better. She came up with a tactical plan where she has followed you, stalked you, and if she so chose, could have killed you many times over in the last month when you were in Leadville. That's why it felt like someone was watching me. Between her being so good and you getting sloppy, you made it easy for her. I can tell you that there's only one sniper I know of that's a better shot than her, and it's you. She even came up with the tactical plan for both of you to win the Leadville race. She has spent years studying you, and, shit, she knows you better than you know yourself. She knew that with some egging on and competition added to a bunch of mystery, you couldn't help but compete at a level beyond your abilities. Come on, we both know that by yourself there was no way in hell that you could have won that race, and by herself she didn't stand a chance. But together, something synergistic happened, and you both performed at an athletic level beyond the level of Olympic athletes. Shit, I'll bet my star that your records will stand as long as I'm still living. So I want you to cut out any bullshit you had planned. You have two choices, Marine. You can work together with Jens as a team, or you can spend the next 10 years that you re-upped for in the stockade." Shit. It was no fun getting my butt chewed by the Brigadier General, but he wasn't done yet. Now he turned and looked at Jens. "Jens, I've known you even longer than I've known Bonsai because the General and I go back a lot of years. I know that you've always been a different young lady. While the other girls were playing with their Barbies, you were playing with G.I. Joes or cowboys and Indians. I know the deepest desire in your heart has always been to be a sniper, and not just a sniper, but the best sniper. The General and I have gone crazy for years trying to keep you from it, but after you ran off and joined the National Guard and then set new records in their sniper school, we knew we couldn't. So we decided if this was your wish you would get one chance at it, and this is your only chance. You've been headstrong in the past and it has always helped you, but I'm going to warn you, that shit won't work with Bonsai. He's the most bull-headed son of a bitch I've ever met, and if he wasn't so damn good at what he does, he would have been in the stockade years ago. So, Marine, he outranks you, and you will obey him without any questions or bullshit. If he says, jump, you had better say, how high? If he says, duck, you had better say, how low? And if he even says to suck his tool, you had better say, how long? Well, at least this was an equal opportunity, but chewing. Man, the old man was on a roll. He continued, I have one more surprise for both of you. He pressed the intercom button on his desk. Bring in the surprise. The Lance Corporal walked in holding a trophy that was about 3 feet tall. The Brigadier General looked at Yince and me. I know you were told you would have the sniper training area all to yourself, but we have a surprise for both of you. 2 weeks from today, we are hosting the first international sniper competition. We have the best of the best coming from all the free world. Of course, we have the Army and the Navy SEALs, but we also have the Mossad from Israel, the Spetsnaz from Russia and Germany, France, Great Britain, all the Scandinavian countries. Shit, even Switzerland is sending their best. It's a week-long competition that focuses on every area of being a sniper. I expect you two to win this trophy for the Corps. Failure is not an option. If you fail, Ben, you will be assigned here as a trainer, and Yince, you will become an administrative assistant. Now, here are the keys to my car. Get the hell out of here. Get to know each other, and come back tomorrow ready for your indoctrination. Yes, sir, we both replied. Then I added, sir, might I ask one more thing? I haven't had a chance to see Sergeant Donaldson's full service record. I'm asking for complete access to it. He smiled, picked up a large folder on his desk, and handed it to me. I know you'll be surprised. I was. One more thing, sir. Thank you for the offer of your car keys, but we don't need it because training is starting for us now. I turned to Yince. Sergeant Donaldson, you have 20 minutes to meet me at the NCO club for dinner. Knowing that the meeting was over, we stood, snapped to attention, and saluted. Brigadier General Thompson returned our salute, and we turned and left. I let the sergeant open the door for me. After all, rank does have its privileges. I was thinking to myself, payback is a bitch. Let's see how Yince runs in those flats she's wearing. I figured that I could just make the NCO club in time without breaking a sweat. So when I hit the street, I took off running, with Yince trying to keep up. It must have been quite a sight to see 2 Marines running in full dress uniform, because everyone who saw us stopped and watched. Finally, I heard Yince say, hell this shit. She stopped and took off her shoes and started running barefoot, and it didn't take long for her to catch up with me. We passed a platoon of new recruits. As luck would have it, my old drill instructor, D.I., was leading it. He recognized me and yelled, Hey Bonsai, are you molesting that poor woman? Hey, yourself, D.I. Anderson, I shouted over my shoulder. I heard that you were so old and ugly they sent you to the Navy to swab the decks. I'll show you old and ugly. Platoon. Bout face. Double time. Yince and I, D.I. Anderson, and the platoon all got to the NCO club at the same time. D.I. Anderson stalked over and ordered, drop and give me 100, Bonsai. I took one look at him, flashed my sleeve with the new sergeant major rank, and replied, D.I. Anderson, I now outrank you. You and your platoon drop and give me 100. You too, Sergeant Donaldson. I was gloating in my newfound power when, of course, Brigadier General Thompson drove up in his Cadillac STS. He rolled down the window and yelled, Sergeant Major Blaine, I see that you're abusing my troops. Drop now and give me 200. Oh well, you can't win them all. When I finished, D.I. Anderson shook mine and shook Yince's hands. You're a sight for sore eyes. Turning towards Yince, he said, Sergeant Donaldson, I'm so glad I could finally meet you. But how in the hell did you get mixed up with this sorry excuse for a Marine? Yince laughed. D.I., please call me Yince. I requested it, but now I'm not so sure it was such a good idea. The D.I. yelled, Platoon, at ease. Then he turned back to us. Bonsai and Yince, do you have a couple of minutes? I would like to introduce you to my new platoon. They're new recruits that signed up after you two won the Leadville Trail 100. We took the time to meet and greet each new Marine, thanking them for joining the few, the proud, the Marines. D.I. Anderson, I said, this is a fine group of Marines. I know you'll turn them into lean, mean fighting machines. Turning to the platoon, I addressed them. Platoon, you're lucky to have one of the best damn Ds in the Corps. You'd be wise to listen to him and do what he says. With that, we said our goodbyes and went into the NCO club where our table was waiting. As we walked in the club, the whole room stood up and started cheering and clapping. I'm not sure which of us was redder, Yince or I. Thankfully, it didn't continue, and we could sit down to a great dinner. Once we were settled with our order and drinks, Yince turned to me. You owe me a new pair of nylons. These were brand new, and I ruined them running after you. Hey, I didn't tell you to take off your shoes. It was much more fun watching you run in your flats. I grinned. Dinner was pretty good, and we made small talk, spending most of the time laughing about the Leadville race. So, you were up in Leadville watching me all last month? I asked. Yes, I was. You were my assignment. Ben, you may not know this, but you're a target. Many countries would like to see you dead, and even in Leadville you weren't safe. It was my job to make sure you didn't get eliminated. Besides, it was sort of fun watching you train. By the time dinner was over, a workable rapport had developed between us. I looked over at her, realizing, I don't even know where I am billeted. Don't worry. I do. We're sharing a house on base. But before you get any ideas, we each have our own bedroom and bathroom. And I always sleep with a pistol and cabber under my pillow, she said, smiling sweetly at me. Let's go, I said. Odark 30 comes early in the morning. I want to pay the bill, but someone had already paid it for us. I could get used to this star treatment. The house they gave us was quite nice, much bigger than I thought it would be. It was a 3-bedroom rancher. Each of the main bedrooms had a nice new bedroom set, including a queen bed and a desk. The third bedroom had been turned into a workroom, with 2 workbenches with a full set of tools, and 2 large gun safes bolted to the floor. Jens gave me the combination to the safes. I opened them, and was I surprised? They were fully loaded. I looked for my first love, the M40A31, but there wasn't one. Instead, I saw a funny-looking Barrett. I took it out and looked at it. Jens said, "Surprise. That's a brand new 98 Bravo 2 from Barrett in .338 Lapua. They aren't even available for sale yet. I like the .338 Lapua. How'd you know?" I asked, lovingly holding the Bravo. "Did you forget what Brigadier General Thompson told you? I've been studying you for years. I know that you like the added range of the .338 Lapua. The trigger is set to 3 pounds, just like you prefer. They've already been sighted to 600 meters, and the most accurate loads have already been created for both of them. I have to say, I was beginning to like being taken care of." I looked through the rest of the safe. It was well supplied. I had several M1911S3, an M44, and even an M1075 Barrett. But what touched me the most was when I unzipped a couple of soft pistol cases, and they contained my dad's old Colt revolvers and .45 long Colt, and then I noticed all my old hunting rifles. In fact, every gun from my safe at home was here. "So, what did you do? Break into my cabin while I was gone and rob me blind?" Jens looked apprehensive. "Ben, don't be pissed. I wanted to tell you this earlier, but the Brigadier General wouldn't let me. The day you left, your cabin was hit in a multiple RPG attack. The only thing left was your gun safe. I had it moved here and opened it. I had your combination from when I was watching you." Gunny looked over all the guns and made sure there wasn't any damage. I stared at Jens, feeling the anger rise in me. "I want to know who did it. Someone is going to pay for this. You're too late. It's already been taken care of." She frowned. "I'm sorry that we didn't stop it. It's my fault, and I take full responsibility. I told you that you're a target. Perhaps now you'll believe me. We do feel that you are safe on this base, but I would still recommend that you carry a sidearm at all times." "I wish you would have told me that earlier," I said. "I probably should have been carrying one tonight." She opened her purse and pulled out an M1911. "I had your back tonight," she assured me. Well, if that isn't frustrating, there's nothing worse than discovering that nearly all of your belongings are missing. I picked up the 1911, checked to make sure it was loaded and had a full magazine, and then cocked the hammer. Cocked, locked, and ready to rock. I thought a bit more and grabbed AM10146, made sure it was loaded. Well, this is enough goddamned excitement for one night. I'm going to bed. With all that had gone on, I couldn't get to sleep. After an hour of tossing and turning, I got up and turned on the light, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't have anything to read but Jens's service record, so I picked it up. I would have to get some books tomorrow. For now, this would have to do. I sat at the table and started reading. The first page of a service record for a sniper always lists the kills. After all, that's why they have us. I was shocked when 8 kills were listed, instead the mere 4 I'd heard about. Something wasn't right here. The details of the kills are listed in a reverse chronological order, with the newest being first. I turned the page and saw 3 kills listed today, with the location of my cabin in Leadville, Colorado. There was even a greater shock when I turned the page and found a single kill on August 12th, also in the Leadville area. Photos were provided for each of the kills, and they all looked to be Arabic. I was trying to get my mind around all of this when I heard a knock at my door. I'd spun around, grabbing the M1911, before I heard Jens. "Hey, it's me. Can I come in?" I couldn't get to sleep. She called softly through the door. I opened it. There she was, standing there in pink flannel pajamas with white bunnies on them and 2 cups of tea in her hands. "I figured you might need this. It's your favorite, peppermint." Seeing that her service record was open on my desk, she added, "We need to talk some more." Most of the time I could care less about talking to a woman. It seems like all they want to do is talk. But this wasn't one of those times. I needed information, and I needed it now. She sat in the chair next to my desk. "Once the group discovered all the key figures you had eliminated, you became a target. Intelligence gathered after your retirement revealed that several influential leaders had issued a fatwa against you, promising instant martyrdom and, of course, the false promise of rewards for anyone who could take you down. Apparently, there was a clerk in records who was a Muslim spy and had leaked your records to them. The marine trader was taken care of, but word of the fatwa made it to several radical Muslim sleeper cells in this country, and they set out to collect on it. I went to my dad and convinced him to assign me to you for protection, and it was a good thing I did. The first one tried to snipe you on a training run, but I got him first. I didn't kill him with my shot, just wounded him, to see if we could get some intel out of him. But when I walked up to him and he started yelling about his beliefs and how he was going to die a hero, I took out my knife, cut off his manhood, shoved it into his mouth and said, "Try to enjoy that now," as I slashed his throat. She continued, "I was making sure you got to DI safely today when the other three blew up your cabin. I guess they didn't know you'd left. I got word at the airport, so I handed your security off to the air marshal on your flight and caught a Harrier back to Leadville. We landed at the cabin site. I called the general and told him about the destruction, that the only thing left was your gun safe, and that I wanted it moved to MCBH before you got there. The three men had hiked in, so it wasn't hard to follow them. I caught up to them in about 90 minutes and gave them the same treatment as the first ones. The Harrier picked me up and flew me here. I arrived just before you did. With fire in my heart, I growled, 'I want revenge.' What about the sleeper cells? It seems that they both had unexplained explosions that totally destroyed their bases. One was in Alabama, and the other was in Oregon," she said with a twinkle in her eyes. "It also seems like the two camel jockey ayatollahs have both died from mysterious causes and their followers have been scattered. Intel feels that you're relatively safe now, at least when you were on the base, but the general won't let you leave the base by yourself. Shit. Nothing like finding out that you were a target, were almost shot, and never even knew about it." I looked down and shook my head. When had I let myself get so sloppy? If not for Yintz, I'd be dead. I looked up at her. "I don't know how to say this, because I've never had to do this before, but thank you for being there and saving my life, and thank you for making sure my guns were brought here." She looked into my eyes. "I know you, and that you're kicking your butt right now. You're wondering how you ever got so sloppy. You were home, you thought you were safe, and you let your guard down. Plus, like it or not, you've become very predictable. Shit, you wake up the same time each morning, you go to bed the same time each night, you always go to town on Saturdays to the same places, you always drive the same routes, and you always run the same trails. We need to work on making you less predictable. Thanks for the tea, it was nice. But I think I'm going to need something a bit stronger to get to sleep tonight," I said. "I'll be back in a minute." Yintz stood up. About a minute later, she walked in carrying 2 glasses and a brand new bottle of Knob Creek bourbon, again my favorite. She didn't use the piece of strapping tape to open it. Instead, she reached up and over behind her head, pulling out a caber from a hidden back sheath. Slicing off the seal and pulling the cork, she poured each of us about 3 fingers, handed me my glass, and clinked hers against it. Semper Fi Marine. She drained it in one gulp. Ora! I drained mine, feeling the 100 proof bourbon light a fire in my belly as it traveled down my throat. "Get some sleep, devil dog. Odark 30 comes early." She pivoted and left the room. I went to the bed and stretched out, and sleep finally did found me. 1. The M40 is a bolt-action sniper rifle used by the United States Marine Corps. 2. The 98 Bravo is Barrett's newest long-range sniper rifle, designed from the ground up to be the most accurate long-range rifle available. It's modular, fully adjustable, weighs over 13 pounds, and has a 10-round detachable magazine. 3. The M1911 is a single-action, semi-automatic pistol, handgun, chambered for the .45 ACP cartridge. It was designed by John M. Browning and was the standard issue sidearm for the United States Armed Forces from 1911 to 1985, and is still carried by some U.S. forces. For the M4 carbine is a family of firearms tracing its lineage back to earlier carbine versions of the M16, all based on the original AR-15 made by Armalite. 5. The M107 Barrett is the USMC 50 caliber LRSR, long-range sniper rifle. According to the USMC, the M107 has a mission of engaging and defeat material targets at extended ranges to include parked aircraft, command, control, communications, computers, and intelligence, C4I, sites, radar sites, ammunition, petroleum, oil and lubricants, and various other thin-skinned, lightly armored, material targets out to 2,000 meters. Basically, it's a shoulder-mounted cannon that lets you reach out and touch someone without becoming a target yourself. 6. The M1014 combat shotgun is a lightweight, gas-operated, tubular magazine-fed, 12-gauge, Semi-automatic shotgun capable of firing 2.75 or 3.00 Magnum shells with a telescoping tubular butt stock. Kadaba, Pakistan, 4th evening of capture. The captors continued their torture today until early afternoon. I guess the beating from yesterday had worn them out, because today I was introduced to waterboarding. Having trained for situations like this, it wasn't too bad. They pulled a sackcloth over my head and immobilized me on my back, reclining me so that my feet were raised and my head was down. Then the pricks poured water over the cloth on my face and into my breathing passages. This torture is much worse than if they would have just tried to drown me, because my automatic gag reflex didn't kick in. But I knew what was coming and fooled the pricks, acting like I was drowning when I really wasn't. They paused every 10 minutes or so to ask me questions, but again, they got no answers. In the end, all they did was give me a good bath. They gave me some sort of nasty stew and some water, and now I am back to being hooked up to the ceiling, preparing for another night fighting the rats and chasing memories of home. Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, Sunday, day 1. The alarm on my watch beeped all too soon. Before going to sleep, I changed the time, so it was an hour earlier than my normal dark 30. I quietly shaved and dressed. I'm going to show Yince I'm not predictable. As I walked into the living room, I smelled food cooking in the kitchen. So I made a detour, and there was Yince all dressed and ready to go. She was cooking up a big pot of oatmeal. "Good morning, Marine," she said. "Breakfast in another 5 minutes. There's fresh coffee in the pot. Pour us both a cup and sit down at the table. This sure beats eating the MREs when I was watching you." Damn, she was perky for this time of the morning. Like a good Marine, I did what I was told. For more minutes later, she put a huge bowl of oatmeal mixed with peanut butter and 4 slices of toast already buttered with honey on them in front of me. She slid over a plastic pill container marked for each day of the week. "Don't forget to take today's vitamins." She bowed her head and prayed. Not knowing what to do, and feeling a bit awkward about it, I did the same. "I knew you were going to try to wake up earlier by an hour just to prove to me you aren't predictable. I woke up an hour and a half early so I could make your breakfast and be ready. I know we have a busy day." I stared at her, dumbfounded. "Are you some sort of witch? It seems like you're always 1 or 2 steps ahead of me." "Well, let's see," she said. "I've been called a bitch before, even by you. But this is the first time I can recall being called a witch. I like that much better. I've been studying you for the 10 years you have been in the Corps, ever since D.I. Anderson told the general you were going to be the next best sniper. I knew one day I would be your spotter, and I wanted to make sure I was ready when that day came." "Wait, isn't that called stalking?" I protested. "Shut up and eat your food. It's getting cold," she ordered. Well, I wasn't going to argue with that. Besides, the smell was making me hungry. The food was damn good, and I didn't waste any more time making small talk. I finished before she did and politely waited until she was done, picked up our dishes, rinsed them, and put them in the dishwasher. "Thanks for a great breakfast. That's the first time a woman has cooked me breakfast since I lived at home with my parents." "You're welcome," she replied. "I wanted to show you I was more than just a beautiful and deadly killer. I know that Jugs, as I like to call your ex-girlfriend, never did this for you. She never woke up before 10. Aside from her appearance, I'm not sure what you ever saw in her, and even then, you know that anything more than a handful is wasted. Damn it, is there anything you don't know about me?" "Nope, there isn't. After all, I am a witch," she said with a laugh. First order of duty for the morning was PT. After the plane ride and the crappy sleep I had last night, I needed to get out and work out and sweat to get my mind off things. I opened the front door and stepped out, and I'll be damned. It was D.I. Anderson and the platoon. "It's about time you 2 sleeping beauties woke up. Damn, half the day is wasted," was his greeting. "Today the general said your butt is mine. We need to evaluate both of you to see if you're in condition. We're going to start with a little run of about 12 miles and then a little swim of about 5 miles, and then we're going to get serious and do the obstacle course." We were on Moffat Road next to the Kaneohe Clipper golf course. I've never understood what a golf course is doing on a Marine base. We ran over to Lawrence Avenue, which turned into H3. At least I had been on this route and knew it. D.I. Anderson was going to run us over to Kalu Point along the Kamehameha Highway, and then we'd have the joy of swimming back to MCBH through the Kaneohe Bay. We were running at the back of the platoon, and I motioned Yince closer to me. I leaned over and whispered to her, "We've got company. I've seen 2 men following us." "Good," she said. "I'm glad you're finally starting to pay attention. They're our fully armed escort in case we run into trouble. When we start the swim, they will shadow us in a Zodiac." The DI said, "Hey, you 2, keep your mouths shut." Platoon cadence. Born on a mountaintop raised by a bear. Got 2 sets of teeth and a full coat of hair. See us coming, better run, better hide. 'Cause we'll hunt you down and eat you alive. Slit your throat and wipe it clean. We're mean scumpsucker, we're U.S. Marines. We'll spit on your graves and laugh out loud. Wear medals on our chest and feel damn proud. Fighting and killing, that's our job. So we earned the name Devil Dogs. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Then one of the PFCs started. Ben and Yince running on the road. It ain't easy carrying such a load. Ben and Yince running in the sand. Fightin' in Iraq, gonna save this land. Ben and Yince running on a mountain. So many kills we lost track countin'. Ben and Yince swimming in the sea. If you don't want to die, you better leave them be. Fighting and killing, that's their job. That's why we call them Devil Dogs. When I grow up, I want to be like them. A devil dog until the end. Ora. I looked over at Yince, and I think she was blushing as bad as I was. I started singing. D.I. Anderson is the best. Drill instructor above the rest. D.I. Anderson trained me well. Kept my sorry but out of hell. D.I. Anderson knows he's good. Training troops the way he should. Made his head so big and fat. Gotta get a new Smokey Bear hat. When I grow up, I want to be like him. A devil dog until the end. Ora. At that, the whole platoon lost it and started laughing. I looked over at Yince and said, "Shall we show these jarheads how to run?" We both broke rank and beat feet, and the race was on. D.I. Anderson yelled, "Platoon, if you don't want to do KP for the rest of the week, you had better catch those two." By the time they got moving, we had a good lead on them. I was pretty sure that, unless they had someone really fast, we would be the first two at Kahaluu Point. I did notice we had lost our escort too, and mentioned that to Yince. "Don't worry, they also have a Predator one following us, and I don't think we can outrun it," she grinned. One private first class did catch us, but I found out he had been a track star in college until he signed up. We handed him our sidearms, told him to give them to our escorts when they caught up, and jumped in the water for the swim back to MCB. When I first joined the Corps, I couldn't swim worth shit. There weren't many chances to swim in Leadville, there was no swimming pool, and even in the summer the lakes were too damn cold. When I joined, I would swim a couple of laps at the pool and be totally exhausted. D.I. Anderson saw how much this bothered me, so he called me into his office one day and handed me a DVD called Total Immersion Swimming. "Ben, watch this, do the exercises, and you'll never have problems swimming again," he said. I did that, and in about a month, I had no problem swimming. The 5 miles back to MCBH would be a piece of cake. 10 minutes later, the Zodiac caught up with us with our escort and D.I. Anderson. "You two doing okay? If we were doing any better, we'd be in heaven." "Nothing like a nice little swim," Yince replied. "Hey, D.I., I said, "taking the easy way over today?" "I didn't want my new hat to shrink or it wouldn't fit," he replied. "Hey, no fair making me laugh." I splashed water at him. "The Predator is still following you too. So we are going back to make sure none of the recruits drown. Blow your whistle, Yince, if you need any help." With that, the Zodiac turned and headed back. The water was a perfect temperature that day, and it didn't take long until I was in the zone. Once I got to where I could swim, it almost became a zen-like experience for me. It was so nice to feel the warm water move around me, gliding over and massaging my muscles like an unseen hand. Soon we were on the beach drying off. The Zodiac came up and our escort handed us our sidearms. "Head on over to the mess hall and grab some chow. We'll be over when the last of the recruits are done," D.I. Anderson said. I was hungry again. Swimming always makes me hungry, so we beat feet over to the mess hall for lunch. Because we were with the platoon, we went to the enlisted mess hall. It was pretty busy already, so we got in the back of the line and grabbed our trays. I noticed most of the Marines in the mess hall were watching us, and I leaned over and said to Yince, "I hope they all get this out of their system soon. I'm getting tired of everyone watching us. You don't understand. You're a hero to everyone here, and they all want to be just like you," Yince replied. "You know, I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I know what it is. They just want to be talking to the general's daughter like I am." That reply earned me a kick in the shins. Damn, that hurt. About that time, the platoon showed up, and of course they were singing the Ben and Yince cadence. This set off the whole mess hall, and they all started singing until we heard, "Ten Hut." Officer in the mess hall. In walked Brigadier General Thompson. "At ease, Marines. Continue with what you were doing." The hall quieted down, at least that stopped them from singing, and he came over and sat at our table. The cooks brought him a tray of chow, and he started eating. "This is a damn sight better chow than when I first joined the Corps." He nodded his head in appreciation. "I heard you two did extremely well on the run and the swim. I think after today you can cut back some on the PT and start working on other things. We need the two of you working as a team in the field if we're going to win the trophy." "Well, I have some other things to do." With that, he got up and went around to each table in the mess talking to the men. Yince admired him. It's actions like that that make him so loved by his men. I had to agree. When lunch was over, it was time to head over to the obstacle course for an afternoon of fun. Some say they have mastered it. Others struggle. But everyone at some point will be humbled by the dreaded obstacle course. It started easy enough. With a waist-high log, we both jumped right over. The second obstacle was the horizontal bar, like a chin-up bar. We both grabbed it and swung up and did sort of a back flip over it. Then we hurdled another waist-high log. Next came the combination bars, another log like the others, then very high parallel bars that start at 10 feet off the ground and slope down to 6 feet off the ground. We grabbed them and slid down to the end, but it wasn't over. We climbed up on top of 2 more logs that were about 10 feet off the ground and parallel to the bars, and with a foot on each log, ran to the end, where we jumped over another log that's about 10 feet off the ground. This was one of the hardest parts of the course, and I blew through this and left Jens behind. Next was the 6-foot high wall. I grabbed the top and jumped over. Jens was about half a second behind me. Then came a series of waist-high logs, the last 4 of which were right next to each other. Most Marines jump up and over each log, hitting the ground between each one. I climbed up on the first one and ran across the top of the other 3. I was about 1 second ahead of Jens when we hit a couple more logs to jump and then a double chin-up bar. I was able to jump up and grab the top one first and then climb right over. Jens was falling further back. The last obstacle was the dreaded rope climb. I knew this was where most people failed because of the upper body strength required. But I had been a rock climber since my high school days and could do 52 armed pull-ups and 10 single-arm pull-ups with no problem, so I looked forward to the ropes. When I got close, I didn't even slow down. I jumped as high as I could and grabbed the rope, hand over hand without using my feet. I flew to the top and slid back down. Jens was just getting to the ropes. I yelled, "That was so much fun. Let's do it again." I ran back towards the start. I passed D.I. Anderson on the way. He shook his head as I jogged in place in front of him. "Damn Bonsai, you're one crazy scumsucker." That was a new course record. I did the course 2 more times that day, but never bested my first time. I lapped the slower recruits, and after the last time through, I jogged over and laid down under a tree. About 5 minutes later, Jens came over. "Shit, I thought I was good on this course, but you blew me away. That was incredible. I couldn't believe you on the rope. Hey, I thought you knew everything about me. I guess I still have a few secrets. You never saw me work out in my home gym because it was in the basement, but I do a lot of pull-ups," I replied. That was a mistake. It made me remember everything I had just lost and really put me in a bad mood. D.I. Anderson came over. "Bonsai, get your sorry butt up and stop moping around over here. You aren't done for the day. You and Jens get your butt over to the gym for Semper Fu Point 2. Well, that got my attention. With the funky mood I was in, I wanted to kick some butt and take some names. There was only one thing I liked better than Semper Fu, and that was shooting someone. I didn't think they would let me do that here. In the Marines, I was an MMQ, which equaled a 5th-degree black belt in the real world, so I was psyched. When we got to the gym, I noticed most of the platoon was dragging. I was disappointed. I want some real competition. We worked out for an hour, and I wasn't even working up a sweat. Man, these recruits were green. They needed a lot of help. Then D.I. Anderson blew his whistle. "Everyone, take a seat at the edge of the mat. Platoon, we have a real treat for you today. You have been training with Bonsai and Jens. They're both ranked MMQ. We are lucky enough to have 2 MMS instructors here today and thought you would like a display of excellence in CQC techniques." With that, the door opened, and in walked 2 of the largest Marines I've ever seen. I looked over at Jens. "We're in for a fight. This could get interesting." She replied, "I've seen these guys fight. We can take them." Damn, was there anything she didn't know? She continued, "We'll fight them together, back to back. That'll limit their attacks. They're big, but they aren't fast, and that's our tactical advantage. Whatever you do, don't let them get close enough to grab you." The sparring match started. Jens and I were back to back, and we were holding our own. Then Jens missed a block, allowing her opponent to grab her and slam her to the mat. He dropped on top of her and was just getting ready to deliver a death blow. I got pissed. No, I got really pissed. No one was going to take down my spotter. I started a capoeira 3 dance. My opponent missed on a kick, and I took him down with an easy foot sweep. Then, I quickly danced over to Jens and took care of her opponent with a head, butt, and an elbow strike to the throat. My opponent was up and was coming after me, but was puzzled about my fighting style. He wasn't sure how to attack a man who looked like he was dancing and not fighting. I was in the zone now, and I knew I needed to make a point, so I decided to play with him. He would strike or kick, but I wouldn't be there. He got angry when the platoon started laughing at him. He lunged at me, and I let him grab me. I heard Jens shout, but this was my plan. I used his strength to pick him up and body slammed him to the mat. I think the whole building shook. Then, I flipped and landed in the middle of his chest. 2 quick eye scoops, ear slaps, and finally a throat punch and he was dead. The platoon and Yinz started cheering. Yinz came over to me and gave me a big hug. "Damn, that felt good," she said. "I guess I don't know everything about you." "What the hell sort of dance was that?" One of the defeated Marines came up. "That was Brazilian capoeira, the ballet of death. I've heard about it and seen videos on YouTube, but I never knew anyone who could do it." He stuck out his hand. "My name is Matt, and my partner is Jim. It's an honor to fight both of you." "Ben, if you knew capoeira, why didn't you use it at first?" I shook his hand. This was a training exercise for the platoon. I didn't want them to see capoeira and try to imitate the moves. My mama was Brazilian and started teaching me when I was a little boy. It takes years to become even mildly proficient at it, but I've been doing it almost as long as I've been walking. If this was a life or death situation, I would have killed either of you in less than 2 minutes. Yinz piped up, "I'd like to see that." Matt and Jim echoed the same. "Oh shit, what did I get myself into now?" I went over to talk with D.I. Anderson. "D.I., I've been asked by Matt and Jim to continue the Semper Fu exhibition. However, I'm not going to be using the MCMAP method. I'll be using Brazilian capoeira. We need to tell the platoon they shouldn't consider this as part of the training." "Bonsai," the DI replied, "please address the platoon and tell them this." I turned to the platoon. "Platoon, I've been asked by Yinz, Matt, and Jim to continue this exhibition not in the MCMAP style of fighting, but in the Brazilian capoeira that you saw just a little bit of at the end of the last fight. This form of martial arts takes many years to master, so I order you to not try any of these moves on your own, and especially not against a real opponent." Yinz handed me a water bottle, looked at me, and said, "Kick their butts for me." When Jim threw me to the mat, it hurt. I looked at her and smiled. Then, a fire rose up in my gut. He's going to pay for that. Matt came over. "Which one of us do you want to fight first?" I looked at him, vengeance on my mind. "I'll fight you both at the same time." Yinz looked at me, wide-eyed. "Bonsai, are you sure? They're both 6th-degree black belts qualified to train the troops. You don't think you can beat them both at once?" "No," I replied with my blood boiling. "They aren't 6th-degree black belts. They're dead meat. D.I. Anderson, please double-check the protective gear on Matt and Jim. I'd hate to see them get hurt during this exercise." "You little prick," Jim bellowed. "I'm going to break you in two." I just smiled at him. "Then today is a good day to die." They went to one end of the mat, and Yinz and I went to the other. "Let me check your gear," Yinz said. I looked at her. "I don't need you to check it. I'm taking it off. It slows me up too much." "The hell you are," Yinz replied. "Listen, I outrank you, I outrank the DI, and I outrank Matt and Jim. Therefore, I'm fighting this fight without any protective gear. They won't even touch me, and this is going to be over in 2 minutes." She was going to argue with me, but after looking in my eyes she knew better. I continued, "D.I. Anderson, am I the ranking Marine here?" "Yes, Bonsai, you are," he replied. "So then my orders will be followed by everyone here?" "Yes, they will be, Bonsai," D.I. Anderson replied. "Here are my orders. First, I can't fight effectively in this protective gear, so I'll be fighting without it. Second, I'll take all responsibility for any injury Matt or Jim might inflict upon me. And finally, I order Sergeant Matt Coombs and Sergeant Jim Markey to fight their hardest. Are these orders understood?" The whole Jim answered, "Yes, sir." I looked at Matt and Jim and said, "Loser buys the beers at the NCO club." Jim replied, "I hope you brought your wallet. I won't have my back to you this time." That cocky little prick. I was not only going to kick his butt, I was going to mop the floor with his butt. Yinz helped me out of my gear. It felt good to be free again. She kissed me on the cheek. "You better not get hurt, or I'll kill you." "I'm ready," I shouted. Moving to the center of the mat, I started my dance. Matt and Jim split up and started moving towards me. This was perfect. Divide and conquer. I made sure I kept Jim in front of me and let Matt get behind me. Jim's eyes flickered for a second to a point behind me, and the sound of Matt's feet on the mat told me he was attacking me from behind. He went for a flying jump kick. I danced down and out of his way, and as he passed me, I stood and delivered a spin kick that hit him right in the solar plexus. He went down hard. Jim moved in on attack, and I danced out of his way, slapping him on the face as he passed. I went over and delivered the coup de grace to Matt, and it was time to concentrate on Jim. For about 5 minutes, Jim would move in to attack and I would dance out of the way, slapping him on the face as he went by. Jim was furious. Finally, he roared like a bull and charged me. I waited until he got close. Then, I grabbed the protective gear on his chest, rolled back with him, falling to the floor and kicking him with both feet in the stomach as hard as possible. I threw him back over me as hard and as high as I could, and Jim flew all the way across the mat, landing hard on his back, threw up, and passed out. The DI headed over, looked at him, and made a call to the medics. I think you broke his ribs. Yince ran up and slapped me across the face as hard as she could. Don't you ever do something that foolish again, or I'll kill you. Women, I'll never understand them. Here I kick a guy's butt for her, and she's mad at me. I went over to look at Jim. I felt bad now. He was just waking up. Did you get the name of the truck that hit me? He tried to laugh, and then winced. Hey guy, I'm so sorry. I got carried away. Please forgive me, I replied. No problem, he groaned, and then he passed out again. The medics came and carefully moved him to a stretcher to take him to the infirmary. Matt walked over to us. I shook his hand and said, "You better go with Jim. Good fight. I'd like to get together with you later and have you teach me a couple things," he replied. We agreed to a time later in the week. Yince had finally simmered down and came over to me. "Remind me to be careful if you ever ask me to go dancing. I don't want to end up like Jim," she laughed. That lightened the mood, and soon everyone was feeling better. Training was finally over for the day, and it was time to head back to the house. Outside, I turned to her. "Yince, I need to stop by the base exchange, to pick up a few things before I head back to the house. I'll see you in a couple of hours." I did need to get some things, but I also wanted a little time by myself. The BX is great. On a good base like this, you can buy almost anything you want or need, and you get a great price. I picked up a couple of new books to read. One was a new Clive Cussler novel. I chose a couple of nice bottles of wine and added another bottle of Knob Creek bourbon. Then, I went to the women's area and bought 3 pairs of pantyhose for Yince to replace the pair she had ruined on our run to the NCO club the first night we were here. 2 of what they called a neutral color, and 1 pair of fishnets. I wonder what she will say about that. I'd already peeked and found out she was a size 4, so I knew they would fit. I was shocked at how expensive they were. No wonder she was upset when she ruined that pair. Finally, just on a whim, I picked up a big bunch of assorted flowers. Not for Yince, for our dining room table. When I was checking out, the lady cashier gave me a funny look when she started ringing up the pantyhose, but she didn't say anything. After all, the policy is don't ask, don't tell. It was a pain carrying all that crap, especially the flowers, but I finally got back to our house. It was sort of strange calling it that. Walked in the door and said, "Hey, honey, I'm home," just as sort of a joke. "I'm in the kitchen," Yince called. "Dinner in 20 minutes. Go get cleaned up." Wow, she cooked dinner for me. That's something Jack, my old spotter, never did for me. I was shocked when I walked into the kitchen to find that the table had a very nice white tablecloth on it and was decorated in the center with candles and crystal candlesticks and set with very nice plates. I sniffed. I didn't know what she was cooking, but it smelled great. Yince was dressed in a nice white blouse and a black floor-length dress. She looked stunning. "Damn, you clean up nice for a Marine." She turned and said, "Hey, you need to get cleaned up before you can eat." I brought the flowers and the wine in the bag with the pantyhose out from behind my back and held them out to her. "I bought you a few things." She squealed with joy, skipped over to me, took the flowers, and gave me a big hug. "Put the rest of the things on the counter while I take care of these beautiful flowers." "Thank you so much. I haven't had flowers in years." "Now, go get cleaned up." I wanted to tell her the flowers were really for the table and not for her. Well, maybe they were for her, but just as a way of saying thanks for all she had done for me. Instead, I kept my mouth shut and headed into my bathroom to clean up. I have to admit, the shower felt great. I scrubbed myself vigorously, dried off, and dressed in a nice polo shirt and some classy shorts, but of course I went barefoot. I do that whenever I can. Yince was sitting at the table waiting for me when I walked out of my room. She looked radiant and was smiling ear to ear. She had arranged the flowers in a vase that matched the crystal candlesticks, and the table looked incredible. It was as nice as I had seen at any restaurant. The food was already on our plates. We each had a big bowl of mixed salad with piñon nuts, cranberries, and mandarin oranges on top. The main entree was grilled tuna with teriyaki glaze, and steamed green beans rounded out the meal. It looked and smelled wonderful. She had chilled the Sauvignon Blanc I bought at the BX and had already poured half a glass for each of us. I took my glass and said, "Here's to a long life and a merry one. A quick death and an easy one. A pretty girl and an honest one. A cold drink and another one." We clinked our glasses. Yince said, "Here's to me and here's to you. And if in the world there was just us two, and I could promise that nobody knew, would you?" I must have turned about 20 shades of red. She teased, "What's wrong? Cat got your tongue?" "Nope, we need to eat. The food's getting cold," I replied. It was nice getting in the last word. She bowed and prayed, and again, I didn't know what to do, so I sort of joined her. Conversation during dinner revolved mostly around the day's events. Yin's complimented me on how well I did on the obstacle course, and I complimented her several times on her excellent cooking. Finally, Yin said, "Thank you for the new hose. I love them, especially the fishnets. How did you know my size?" I should have told her, I guessed, but I think I'd had too much wine, so I confessed, "I looked at your clothes the other day while you were busy. I hope you don't mind. Did you find anything you liked?" was her mischievous answer. "Ah, well, you did have one camo top that was nice," I stuttered, not knowing what to say. "You know, that's exactly what I expected you would say," she laughed. After dinner, I cleaned up and put the plates in the dishwasher. Yince wandered out to the back porch. "Hey," she called. "The sunset is beautiful. Come take a look." We sat on a couple chairs, finishing the bottle of wine and enjoying the sun setting over the ocean. "Yince," I said, "this was wonderful. Thank you for taking such good care of me. I almost feel like we're an old married couple." Her reply shocked me. "Yes, a married couple, but without all the benefits." I turned and looked into her violet eyes. "Yince, we have to get one thing straight. I can tell there's a strong attraction between us, but we're both Marines, and we're serving together. Even though we both may want more, it isn't going to happen. We can't let it happen. It would ruin both of our careers. So for right now, we'll have to keep it the way it is." I saw a little tear form in the corner of her left eye. "Damn it, I know you're right about this, but I know you're Mr. Right for me. The problem is, I've been waiting forever for this, and I want you to be Mr. Right now. Yince, believe me when I say I'd like nothing better than to be your Mr. Right now. But we're Marines, and for us honor has to come first," I reasoned with her. She pouted. "I've really loved being with you today and taking care of you. Can we at least be an old married couple without the benefits?" I took her hand between mine. "Yince, I will promise you more. I also know you're Miss Right for me, and I'll wait for you until the time is right. Semper Fidelis for my Yince." I must have said something right, because she came over and sat in my lap and started crying. I held her close and stroked her back and hair, and whispered to her over and over again of my love, and that I'd always be faithful. After about 10 minutes, she settled down and started telling me the same. I kissed her on the forehead. "Well, my love, we need to get some sleep. Odark 30 comes early. Couldn't you hold me for just a few more minutes?" she asked, almost begging. She settled into my lap. It's a good thing she wasn't very heavy, leaned her head on my shoulder, and promptly fell asleep, making little snoring sounds. I thought about the whirlwind that had been my life for the past 2 days. Yesterday, I found out DLP was actually the Yince who had won the Leadville race with me and saved me from being killed. I also found out all that I owned except my guns had been destroyed. All the memories of my folks and the cabin I grew up in were gone. Not even one picture survived. And now I have fallen in love. Me, a 28-year-old man who really has nothing. So, not wanting to disturb her, I just held Yince closer, closed my eyes, and went asleep. The MQ-1 Predator is an unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, described as a male, medium-altitude, long-endurance UAV system. It can serve in a reconnaissance role and fire 2 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles. The aircraft, in use since 1995, has seen combat over Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bosnia, Serbia, Iraq, and Yemen. It is remote-controlled by humans, not an autonomous aircraft. 2A nickname for MCMAP Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, a combat system combining existing and new hand-to-hand and close-quarters combat, CQC, techniques with morale and team-building functions and instruction in what the Marine Corps calls the warrior ethos. 3 Capoeira emerged in Brazil sometime after the 16th century in the regions known as Bahia, Pernambuco, Rio de Janeiro, Minas Gerais, and São Paulo. It is a martial arts dance marked by fluid acrobatic play, feints, and extensive use of groundwork, including sweeps, kicks, and headbutts. Less frequently used techniques include elbow strikes, slaps, punches, and body throws. For the phrase is always faithful. It isn't sometimes faithful, nor is it usually faithful, but always. It is not negotiable. It is not relative, but absolute. Who is always faithful, though? And to what exactly are they faithful? Interestingly, the simplicity of the phrase and the calculated neglect to specify its parameters seems to strengthen it. Marines pride themselves on their straightforward mission and steadfast dedication to accomplish it. Things do not need to be spelled out for them. They know what it means and what to do about it. Kadaba, Pakistan, Night 5. Oh shit. What's that? It's the damn rats biting me again. They woke me out of a great dream. I smashed that prick. Maybe they'll eat on him for a while, and not on me. Damned cannibalistic scumsucker. Every time I fall asleep, my feet slip down and the damned rats are just waiting. Today, my captors continued with the torture and the questions. They realized that beating and waterboarding didn't work, so they brought in some sort of electrical machine and would shock the hell out of me when I wouldn't answer. When they cranked it up the last time, I passed out and woke up hanging from the ceiling again. No food or water tonight, but I can lose myself in my mind and maybe get some sleep. Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, Monday, day 2. It was a good thing that we were in Hawaii, because the nights are mild. Otherwise, we would have gotten cold that night. I woke up just as it was thinking about becoming dawn. I really needed to get up and take a leak, but it felt so nice having Yince on my lap and holding her close. I decided the leak could wait. After about 30 minutes of holding my lovely Yince, just as the sun was peeking over the horizon, she started stirring and woke up. She blinked her eyes a couple of times. At first, she wasn't sure where she was. Then she looked at me with those twinkling violet eyes and said, "Wow, I guess you did hold me for just a little while longer. I could get used to waking up like this." She kissed my cheek. "Good morning, honey. Are you ready to be my big, strong Marine today?" "Yes, my love, but first I have some things to take care of in the bathroom that can't wait much longer," I groaned. She jumped up off my lap and held out her hands and helped me up. Oh, I was stiff. I promised myself I'd stretch later, after the toilet. We went off to our separate bedrooms, and 30 minutes later, I was done with my morning routine. I heard Yince in the kitchen already when I came out of my bedroom into the living room. She was ready for the day and was already making breakfast. I walked up behind her, wrapped my arms around her, and gave her a big hug. "Good morning again, my love. Are you ready to be my big, strong Marine today?" She started laughing, turned, and returned the hug. "Get the coffee, my dear, and set the table. Breakfast in 3 minutes." Breakfast was the same as the day before, which was fine by me. I love oatmeal for breakfast. Since I spent the time with the Tarahumara Indians, I found that I did better if I ate more grains and less meat. I just wish that I could get some of their corn panol for my meals. Again, Yince started the meal with a prayer. I'd have to ask her about that someday. I looked over at Yince and said, "Yince, I have to tell you that last night was wonderful, but that I'm really confused. Things are moving so fast." She started to look a little angry, but I continued. "Now, don't get upset. I meant every word that I said to you last night and even more. I don't understand it, but somehow I have fallen in love with you. I think that it started at the Leadville race, and it has just been getting stronger for the last 2 days. But it's not like me. Other than my parents, I don't think I've ever loved anyone before. I certainly didn't love my ex-girlfriend like I love you. So I'm not sure how to act or what to do. But here's one thing that I know. We can't have PDA, public display of affection. At least when we're on a base together. Even though I want to tell the whole world about us, we can't do that just yet. But I would like our relationship to be just like last night when we're alone together. It'll be this way until we're no longer enlisted, but when that happens, I plan on making you Mrs. Blaine." She jumped up out of her chair, came over to me and pushed my chair back, straddled my lap, and sat down, looking me in the eyes. "Then I'll resign right now so that I can be your whole wife." "Yince, that would be a big mistake for both of us, and you know it. First, you have worked too long and too hard to give it up. Second, you're too damn good to quit. And third, and the most important, if you quit, I'll still be going away on missions and you won't be able to come with me. If you're my spotter, we can travel together and be together. Sometimes I do come up with good ideas." She searched my eyes. "The first 2, I'd give up in a moment for you. But you're right on the last one. It would drive me crazy if you were gone and I wasn't there to take care of you. It does make sense for me to stay in, but it's going to be hard as hell not to touch you when we are in public. Yince, just remember how you were the last 2 days. You did touch me, and you did hug me, and no one thought anything about it. And remember how you flirted and acted even during the Leadville race? I'd really miss it if those things changed." I made my point, and she liked it. "Well, my love, it's time to get moving today. You're in Ben's boot camp." As she got up off me, I swatted her butt. "Get moving, Marine. If I don't, will you spank me more?" She asked mischievously. That's the Yince that I know and love. She cleaned up the dishes this time, and we went to our rooms to brush our teeth and to get our sidearms. I always like to spend about an hour doing my PT first thing in the morning, and it was about time that Yince was indoctrinated into the routine. You see, you don't need to spend hours in the gym and become a gym rat to get and be in shape, but it does take some time each day. If I wasn't active in the Marines, I could probably have pared my workout down to half an hour a day, but to keep this lean, mean fighting machine tune took me an hour each day. We jogged over to the gym at an easy pace to warm up our muscles. I break down the muscles into 3 groups. That way I can work out each day, and each set of muscles gets worked twice a week. The seventh day, I don't rest like God did. I used that day to crank out some serious aerobics. Today was shoulders, chest, and triceps, the back of the arms. We started out doing military presses with dumbbells. We picked a weight that was comfortable and did presses for 1 minute using proper form and technique. I'm a stickler on this. We pressed the dumbbells up in a slow and controlled motion. Then, at the top of each press, when most people quit, we clenched our trapezius muscles, the big muscles on the side of the neck that goes from the neck to the top of the shoulders, forcing the dumbbells up and even higher. Then we slowly lowered them back to the start. We did as many reps as we could in 1 minute. After that, we dropped the weights and did single leg squats for 1 minute to keep our heart rates up. It took just a little bit of work and teasing to get Yints doing them right by the end of the 5th set. Next on the agenda was shoulder flies, with the same routine: lift slow, hold when the arms are at 90 degrees to the body, any higher can damage the shoulders, then clench the traps and slowly lower to the start. This time, we did step-ups on the bench for our 1 minute rest. Shoulders were done, so it was time for the chest, and the first exercise was the dumbbell press. However, as usual, we added a few twists to it. We found a weight that was comfortable, lay back on the bench, then pressed our arms slowly up to a 45-degree angle to the floor. When we reached the top, we clenched the pectorals, chest muscles, forcing the weights up even higher, and lowered them slowly back to the start position. Yints had some problems with this because she started out too heavy, but once we got the right weight, she said, "I like this exercise. Maybe it will make my body bigger." I leaned down and whispered in her ear, "Anything more than a mouthful is wasted." She started laughing and dropped the weights. We did 5 sets. In between the sets, we did jumping jacks. The second chest exercise was chest flies, with the pec clinch at the top. 5 sets of those. Squat thrusts in between. We were done with the weights for the shoulders and the chest, so it was time to do some functional exercises. The first one was handstand shoulder presses, again watching the form. Yints couldn't balance that well, so she did them against the wall, and I actually helped her up and down by grabbing her ankles. 5 sets with duck walks in between. The second functional exercise was the dive bomb. You start out in the yoga position of downward facing dog, then you bend your elbows and let your body come forward about an inch off the floor. As your jugs pass your arms, you push your arms up, locking your elbows and bending your back in a reverse arch. Sort of like cobra position, but your body is off the ground. You then reverse it, and that is 1 rep. It's great for working the shoulders, chest, and arms, and is also a good stretch. In between, we did squat jumps to keep our heart rates up. The last functional exercise was the normal push-up. Sometimes, I would change and do wide or diamond push-ups, but that day, it was just normal push-ups for 5 sets. And of course, no rest in between. We ran in place. 2 more exercises and then we would be done. It was time to work the triceps. First off was the standing tricep press, and to keep from cheating, we kept our triceps locked to the side of our heads. 5 sets, and in between the sets, we went over and punched the heavy back. The last exercise was skull crushers. We lay on a bench and slowly lower the dumbbells until they are right over our forehead. If we slipped, we'd crush our skull. 5 sets and more bag work in between. In 90 minutes, we did a kick butt workout that worked part upper body and got a good aerobic pump going. What to do with the other 15 minutes? We spent 5 minutes of that time beating the crap out of the heavy bag with punches, slaps, elbows, knees, shoulders, feet, head, and whatever else we felt like hitting it with, all the time moving as fast as we could. Then 5 minutes on the punching bag to improve speed and eye-hand coordination. Then the last 5 minutes were full-fledged sit-ups with weights behind our heads. Yints looked over at me. "Are we done yet? Can you lift your arms?" I replied, "Just barely. I think I'll be sore tomorrow," she whined. "Not if I give you a massage tonight," I quipped. "I think I'd like a Thai massage tonight," she said with a wink. "Keep your pants on, Marine. You know better than that." I acted upset. She pretended to pout. "Gee, you're no fun. I've spent all my life keeping guys out of my pants. Now that I want one in them, he won't listen to me." "Okay, let's go. It's time to see if those rifles we have are worth a damn, or if I'm going to have to send them back to the armory," I said as I hopped up. I'm getting better at ignoring her comments. We needed to go to the long-distance range, and that wasn't on base. So I sent Yints home to start packing and I ran to the motor pool to check out a Humvee. When I pulled up to our house 30 minutes later, Yints was waiting. "Welcome home, honey. Everything is ready to go, and I even called our escort. They'll be here in 10 minutes. We started humping the gear into the Humvee and had just finished as the escort pulled up. "Hi, boys," Yints greeted them. "It's good to see you." I just grumbled. It's damn embarrassing having an escort. It's not like I can't take care of myself. We jumped into the Humvee. I wanted to get her door, but the damn escort beat me to it. She reached across the seat, squeezed my hand, and said, "I know you wanted to get my door, but that time will come, Marine. Sometimes she is spooky." The drive out to the range was uneventful, and we didn't lose the escort. We checked in with the range safety officer, RSO. He asked what we were shooting. Jens replied, .338 Lapua long-range sniper. I could put you on the 1,000-meter range, but my guess is that with that round you might want to try some longer shots. So let's put you on the 3,000-meter range, he answered, and gave us our spots and directions. We didn't need the directions. We'd both been here before. We drove over and unasked the equipment. It was a lovely day in Hawaii, with just a few high clouds and, of course, a breeze. But that wasn't too bad, and shouldn't bother the shooting much at all. I took my rifle out of the case and set it up on the table. Jens took out her spotting scope and set up beside me. I looked over at her and said, "A bad day shooting," she replied, "is better than a good day at work." And then we both laughed. "Well, these are sighted in at 600 meters. Let's see how accurate they are," I said. "Jens, please run the first target out to 600 meters. She complied. "Target 1 at 600 meters. "Range me," I said. Even though we both knew the range was 600 meters, we still had to get used to working with each other. The keys to shooting accurately are, first, to avoid learning any bad habits, and second, to do the exact same thing each time. The change that came over Jens was almost scary. The joking was gone, and she was all business. In a soft but audible whisper, "Range 600 meters, elevation 0, wind 36 at 3, gusting to 5. Damn, the wind was going to make my first shot interesting. We did the calculations, and I made the scope adjustments, lined up the center crosshairs on the bullseye, took one deep breath and let it half out, and gently squeezed the trigger. The gun barked, and I lost sight of the target because of the recoil. "Good shot. Bonsai. Center of bullseye," Jens squealed. "Let's do it again," I said. "For more shots later," I said. "Jens, please bring in the target." She ran in the target and brought it over to the bench next to us. She took a quarter out of her pocket and put it over the 5 shots. It easily covered them, so she tried a nickel. It also covered them. Finally, she tried a dime, and even it covered them. She looked at me with awe in her eyes. "That was incredible for your first time with this rifle. This is one fine shooting rifle. Shit, it's even better than the one that I had when I left the Corps. And I don't know who sighted it in, but they did a damn fine job," I answered. "Thank you," she piped up. "I'm the one who sighted it in. I tried my best, but I sure couldn't shoot a group like that. Mine was the size of a quarter. Let's see you shoot 5 rounds, and perhaps we can figure out why," I replied. We stored the old target and ran a new one out to 600 meters and switched places. "Range me," Jens said. "Range, 600 meters. Elevation, 0. Wind, 38 at 3, gusting to 5, I reported. "Good." The conditions were about the same, so this will be an accurate test. We did the calculations, and Jens made the scope adjustments and settled in to try her first shot. She took in a deep breath. Let it half out. "Stop. Your position is just a little off. Try moving the butt of the rifle about a quarter of an inch to the left on your shoulder." I showed her where I wanted it. She complied and started again. The deep breath, half out, and the gentle squeeze on the trigger. The .338 Lapua barked. "Where did I hit?" she asked. "1 minute. I was watching your form, not the target." I checked in the spotting scope, looked at her, and smiled. "Dead center bullseye. Do it 4 more times." We brought in the target after 5 shots, took it over to the bench. It was pretty small. The quarter easily covered it, the nickel just barely covered it, but the dime didn't. She was jumping up and down and gave me a big hug. "That's the best group I've ever shot." I smiled. "You can do better. Your follow-through on the trigger isn't quite right. The shoulder position and the trigger were the only problems that I saw. Correct those, and you'll shoot as well as I do." "Well, we know that you did a hell of a job sighting this in. Let's see what this will really do." "Jens, please run a new target out to 1,000 meters, I asked. It's generally accepted that the maximum effective range for the .338 Lapua is 1,800 meters at a warm sea level day like today, and with the low drag bullets we're using, but I've made kill shots at a great distance with my old rifle and it didn't shoot this well. We took our places. "Range me." Range 1,000 meters, elevation 0, wind 34.3, gusting to 5. She was all business again. I settled in and tickled the trigger, and the 98 Bravo spoke. After 4 more shots, Jens brought the target in. "Son of a bitch," she said as she covered the group with a dime. A dime group at 1,000 meters. "I didn't think it could be done. Watching you shoot has made me so hot. I want to take you here right now." My mouth dropped open. I didn't really know what to say. She saved me by saying, "Just kidding, honey. Now it's my turn." She took her turn, and I could tell she had listened to my advice, because when we pulled in her target, the quarter covered it, but the nickel didn't quite cover it. Again, she started dancing and hopping around. My best group, my best group. Damn, she sure got excited about shooting. I mean, I love shooting, but Yince might even be crazier about it than I am. We had put 20 rounds through this 98 Bravo, and I didn't want to push it on the first day out. It was the best rifle I've ever shot, and seemed to be getting even better as it was getting broken in. So I put Juliet, as I decided to call this one, in her case and pulled out the other 98 Bravo. "I assume that you sighted this one in too?" I asked Yince. "You betcha," was the snappy reply. "Then let's not waste time trying it at 600 meters. Yince, please run a new target out to 1,000 meters. She ranged me, and we went through the exact same steps, and I fired the first shot. I looked over at her and smiled. This is even better than the first rifle. After 4 more shots, she pulled the target in, brought it over to the table, and whistled, saying, "Oh my God, is that all one hole?" She took a bullet and put it through. It went through easily, but it stopped at the case. "Damn, I better not ever get you pissed off enough to shoot at me," she said, walking over to me and giving me a big hug. "I guess you are my big, strong Marine." Holding her close, I said, "Let's see what this rifle will really do. Please run a target out to 1,200 meters and bring me all the ammo. I want to look at it." I could tell that someone really did a good job with this ammo, but there are always some minor differences, and I wanted to pick out 5 or 10 of the best rounds that I could find. After about 15 minutes, I found 10 rounds that just felt better to me than the rest. We went through the steps. Each time we did this, we became closer and were functioning more like one person rather than two. At the end of 5 shots, she brought in the target. Her smile stretched from ear to ear. I can't believe it. A dime-sized group at 1,200 meters. I don't know what to say. Finally, I'd found a way to shut her up. I do. I think I have 5 more good rounds and 5 more good shots in me. Please run the target out to 1,800 meters, I said. I hoped I wasn't just showing off and wouldn't regret this later, but it really felt like this rifle could do it. Range me, sweetheart, I said. Her soft voice whispered back at me. You say the nicest things. Range 1,800 meters, elevation 0, wind 182 at 3, steady. This time we got a little lucky. The wind had switched, was almost straight behind us, and wasn't gusting. I took the 5 shots and Yince brought the target in. It measured a quarter-sized group at 1,800 meters. Damn, this rifle could shoot. Yince was elated. She was dancing and whirling around like a ballerina. She came over again and hugged me tightly. Damn. I thought she was going to break my ribs and said, "You're not only the best damned sniper in the world, you're also the best damned man in the world." I looked in her eyes and replied, "Yince, I couldn't have done this without you. You sighted in the rifles perfectly, and you're the best spotter I've ever worked with. Your ranging was spot on." She squeezed me even harder. "What's next?" "Well, let's put Bravo in the case and head over and do some pistol practice," I answered. "Bravo?" she questioned. "Yeah, I named the first rifle Juliet, because that's what she felt like. This one is better, and I felt like shouting, 'Bravo,' when I fired it." I smiled at her. "Do you name everything?" she asked, and winked at me. "Of course. Doesn't everyone?" I quipped back. This time she blushed. We loaded up the Humvee, stopped by, and told the RSO that we were leaving, and headed back to the base. We stopped by home and dropped off Juliet and Bravo in the safes. Those 2 rifles were too good to lose, and had a quick sandwich and bowl of soup for lunch. Then we loaded up the Humvee and headed over to the pistol range. Truth be told, I actually like shooting pistol better than rifle, and I like shooting revolvers better than pistols. I can remember when I was a little boy. The first gun my dad gave me was an old World War II Mauser and .22 long rifle. It was a training rifle for the Hitler Youth that Grandpa brought back from World War II. It had a nameplate on the butt. I always wondered who Otto Brugger was, but Dad never told me. He had put a J.C. Higgins 4-power scope on it, and I must have shot millions of rounds through it. But when Dad gave me an old Colt Frontier Scout single-action revolver and .22 long rifle, I was in love. I carried that gun with me everywhere, and shot it so much that we had to have the trigger assembly rebuilt 3 times. I spent my afternoons wandering the woods of our Leadville property playing cowboys and Indians, but when I played, the Indians always won. Naturally, Yince was an excellent shot with a pistol, but I noticed that she only used her right hand. I walked over to her and said, "Please tell me you can shoot with the left hand." She looked at me, switched hands, and said, "Some, but I'm not as good as with my right." So we worked on this for a while. "I want you to practice every day until you can shoot as well with your left as your right. You never know when your right hand will become injured. You might be on an assignment. I went to the Humvee, opened the back, and got out my dad's old Colt revolvers and my quick draw setup and brought them over to the table as Jens watched. I loaded one, skipped one, loaded four into the 6 chambers of the .45 long Colt revolver, and repeated it on the second one. Jens looked at me sort of funny. I explained, these old revolvers have a poor excuse for a safety. If you load all 6 and accidentally drop it, it'll go off. By loading it this way, you always have the hammer on an empty chamber. Now, it's time to have some fun. I'm going to turn around. Throw your empty soda can out there, and then yell go. She did as told and I waited. Go, she shouted. I spun around, saw the can, drew my right revolver just up to waist level, and nailed the can with the first shot. It went flying. I adjusted and fanned the revolver 4 more times, chasing the can down the range. Then I twirled the right Colt and holstered it, and drew the left Colt, fanned it 5 times, chasing the can with each shot, did a fancy twirl, and holstered the left revolver. Jens stared at me. Damn, I didn't know my big strong Marine was also a cowboy. Indian, I corrected. Sorry, she said. That looked fun. Can I try it? I took off my rig and it wouldn't really fit on Jens. She was too small. So I took the holsters off the belt and put them on her web belt, tying the bottoms of the holsters to her leg. She purred. You can do that all you want. I ignored the comment and said, before we load these, you need to practice without ammo. I don't want you to shoot yourself in the leg. When you first draw, don't try to do it fast. Just do it smooth. The speed will come with practice. I spent about 10 minutes working with her on her draw. She really listened and was a great student. She wasn't fast yet, but she was really smooth. And I knew that with some practice, she could draw like lightning. Okay, it's time to load up and let you shoot a few slow shots without drawing, I said. She loaded them just like she had seen me do earlier. She took the right gun slowly out of the holster, aimed, and fired. Wow, this is much nicer to shoot than my M1911. Now she knew why I liked my revolvers. Don't try aiming this time. I said, try shooting offhand and see how you do. Just pretend there is a line from the front of your barrel to the target. She hit pretty close to the target's heart. She emptied out both revolvers and I reloaded them for her. Let's try the can like I did earlier, but please don't draw the gun until you are fully turned around and facing downrange, and take your time. I don't want you to get shot. I threw the can, waited a couple of seconds, and shouted, go. Jens spun, saw the can, drew the right revolver, and hit it on the first shot, then missed one, then hit the last 3. She holstered the right revolver, drew the left, and missed the first shot, hit the second, missed the third and the fourth, but hit the last one. She looked over at me and pouted. Damn it, damn it, damn it. I missed 4 times. She stamped her foot in anger. I went over and hugged her. I'm really impressed with your shooting. I've seen people who have done this for years not do that well. You made me proud. She hugged me back. It felt really good. I looked at my watch and knew we had to call an end to the shooting fun for the day. Time to load up, my sweetie. I'm going to drop you at the base commander's office with our targets so you can give him a status report for our first day. I'll make dinner tonight. You need to be home at 1700 sharp. You'll make me dinner? No one has ever done that for me before, she replied. You've done so much for me that you deserve a rest tonight. I know that you're a little sore from all the exercises earlier and the shooting. I want you to take it easy and recover for tomorrow. Tears were forming in the corner of her violet eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. So instead she hugged me. We loaded up the gear and I dropped her at the base commander's office, remember, 1700 sharp. Don't be early or late, I said. I had plans for the night, and I had to hurry to the BX and pick up all the surprises that I had planned for Jens. I was lucky, because it wasn't very busy this time of day. I grabbed everything and headed over to the cashier. Damn, it was the same girl as before, and she looked at what I was buying and just sort of smiled. I looked at her and stammered, I have a girlfriend. She just nodded her head. I got home and dropped the gear in the extra bedroom. I'd clean the guns later that night. I fired up the charcoal grill, and then I hopped in the shower and took a quick one. I threw on a different polo shirt and a new pair of shorts and started making the salad. It was a nice romaine lettuce salad with sunflower seeds, fresh strawberries, fresh blackberries, fresh raspberries, cranberries, and sliced almonds, with a nice raspberry vinaigrette for the dressing. I cleaned out the jalapenos and stuffed them with cheese and bacon, and whipped up some bourbon and honey glaze for the sirloins I'd bought at the BX. Lastly, I threw the ranch-style beans into a pan. 15 minutes until Jens was due to arrive. Perfect. Time to start her bath. I went through her bedroom and into her bathroom, threw a bunch of bath salts and bubble bath into the tub, and started the water running. Then I lit the tin candles that I bought at the BX and arranged the roses that I'd picked up in a nice vase I found in the kitchen. I turned on some nice, relaxing classical music on her boombox and turned out the light. It looked awesome. I had just run back to the kitchen and made a quick batch of Ben's famous margaritas in the blender when I heard Jens open the front door and come in saying, "Honey, I'm home." "Stop," I said. "Don't move. I have a surprise for you." I came out of the kitchen. "Dinner will be in 45 minutes, but first you need to get cleaned up. Close your eyes and keep them closed." She did, and I lead her through her room and into her bathroom. "You can open your eyes now," I said. She blinked a couple of times, looked at everything, hugged me, and started crying. "This is the nicest and most romantic thing anyone has ever done for me. I love you, Ben." She hugged me even tighter. "My dear," I said, "your bath is getting cold. Enjoy yourself, and the steaks will be done in about 45 minutes. I handed her a margarita. "Don't get too drunk, and wear some comfortable clothes." She was still crying some when I left, but I had a meal to finish preparing. I had just finished glazing the steaks for the last time when Yins came out to the patio and found me at the grill. She was wearing a devil dog t-shirt and a pair of short shorts, was barefoot, and looked totally relaxed. "That was wonderful," she said as she gave me a big hug. "I'm hungry. What's for dinner?" "Refill the margaritas and sit down at the deck table." "I'll serve you," I answered. I grabbed the salad from the fridge and brought everything else to the table from the grill. I forgot to mention, when I grill, I really grill, so everything was cooked on the grill, the steaks, the jalapeno poppers, and the beans. I figure if you already have a fire, there's no sense heating up the kitchen. I raised my margarita glass in a toast. "Here's to the prettiest. Here's to the wittiest. Here's to the truest of all who are true. Here's to the neatest one. Here's to the sweetest one. Here's to them all in one. Here's to you." She started sniffling and raised her glass in a toast. "Here's to you. Here's to me. And here's to the space between us. One of us has to go. Not you. Not me. But the space between us." We clinked our glasses, shared a drink, and continued on with dinner. Most of it was small talk until Jens started telling me how impressed the base commanding officer was with our shooting. At first, he didn't believe the distance, but once she started getting mad at him, he figured she was telling the truth. She also mentioned that the general was going to be here tomorrow and wanted to meet with us. When she said that, I got a little worried. She said, "Don't worry, I won't let Daddy yell at you." But I did wonder what he was going to think about Jens and me. What would he say about it? "Ben, tonight was so wonderful. Thank you for all your care for me." Jens sighed contentedly. "Oh, but it's not over yet," I said. "I still have one more surprise for you. Go on inside and get comfortable. I'll be in after I clean up." I cleaned up as fast as I could and found her in the living room. She had put on some nice music and was sitting on the couch waiting for me. I went into my room and grabbed the supplies and came back into the living room, where I spread the cushions on the floor, putting 2 sheets over them, and said, "Come here, my love. It's time for your massage." But it's not going to be a Thai massage. She sat beside me. "How do I do this? I've never had a massage before." "I'll leave the room. You take off all your clothes and get between the sheets. Make sure you are on your back first," I said as I walked out of the room. "Ready?" she called. I used to get massages all the time, so I was pretty experienced on how they should be done. I came in and knelt on the floor at her head, put some massage lotion on my hands, warmed it up, and started working her temples, head, face, and neck. Next, I moved the sheet down a little so I could do the front of her shoulders and her arms. She has a bruise on her right shoulder from shooting earlier. That would be sore tomorrow. I did her arms from the hands to the shoulders, taking special care with each finger as she sighed contentedly. I then did each leg, from as high as I dared, to her feet, and paid special attention to each toe so I wouldn't tickle them. "Roll over. It's time for your back." She did, and I continued. She had a wonderful back, very muscular, but not so much that it looked gross. But it was really tight, and I spent a lot of time kneading out the knots in it. Finally, I finished with the back of her legs. She must have shaved, because they sure were smooth. Her steady, deep breathing told me that she had fallen asleep. So I covered her up and went into the 3rd bedroom to readjust myself. I'm glad that she couldn't see the effect that she had on me. I'm sure that she would never let me live it down. I spent a couple more hours cleaning and oiling the guns and making sure they were fine. I checked one more time on Jens, put her M1911 in Caber where she would see them if she woke up, gently rubbed her back one more time, and wished that things could be different. Then I went off to my bedroom to sleep, but I changed my mind. I grabbed my M1911 and my M1014, went back in the living room, took the cushions and blanket from the couch, and lay down by Jens to sleep. Dear listeners, the next part will be out soon. Meanwhile, Please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.